Hello, listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of Discovers, the only podcast out there that reads, rates, and reviews all 41 of Terry Pratchett's epochal Discworld series of comic fantasy novels. I'm your host, Iris J., and with me are my delightful co-hosts. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves alphabetically?
Well, I'm still BALINA, and despite everything, I absolutely refuse to come up with a proper intro at this rate.
Hi, I'm the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You might know me from my very good posts, or any of my many half-finished projects.
Hi, I'm JUNIPER, and I know the letters of the alphabet.
All right.
Oh, good.
Excellent. See, this is great. This is actually our second take at the intro. And the first time we didn't get the alphabetical order right, but this time...
Wow, you're just going to call me out like that, huh?
More importantly, you're going to pretend that that's the reason why we recorded it.
It was of no fault of my own whatsoever.
Like Iris,
Yeah, it was...
Iris edits the podcast. She controls history.
Iris can make us say whatever she wants. She gets to choose what the rating is at the end of the episode, technically, because, like... she could just override all of us.
My name is June, and I cheated on my math test.
Fart penis. Ass. This is actually me, Grace, saying this.
I'm so glad none of us have the patience for sentence mixing.
All of us are extremely lazy, and that's a benefit.
Anyways, no, I fucked up. I forgot to hit record before we did it the first time, so I'll come clean. I don't wish to make you mistrust me. Anyways, the book that we're doing today is Equal Rites. Third book in the series. First one that doesn't have Rincewind as a protagonist, and this one's got a bit of the old genders in it.
Oh, this has so much gender. This
Just a dash. Just a frisson of the old gender.
it sure does have a lot of old Terry. Bless his heart, he's really trying to do an epic feminism.
Mm-hmm. You can feel him really straining, trying to do something good, and sometimes it works.
Yeah, my man came up with a turf tree so that Granny could have an argument with it and win. He came up with a fucking J.K. Rowling turf tree, mansplaining witchcraft to the witch.
He gets better, I promise. I promise.
Like, his heart is in the right place. I will concede that.
Eventually his brain gets in the right place, too.
Or he has the sense to ask for help.
Yeah.
Thank God. So the last episode, or two episodes you might have remembered. Sorry, I was taking a sip of coffee. The last two episodes were out of one book, and that was, in retrospect, a little excessive. This time around, similar to running alongside a broomstick to make it start going aloft, we've decided to tweak our format just a little bit, and we're going to synopsize the whole book at the start, courtesy of our friend BALINA over here, who has dutifully pared down a synopsis down to, you said, under 60 seconds?
Well, you told me to do it in 60 seconds, so I'm going to do my best. I might run over. The only people who care are the historians.
That's fine. There are no consequences whatsoever if you run over, as long as you keep it under an hour. That's fine.
Okay, all right, that explains the shock collar, but all right. So, anyways. Drumbillet, a wizard, is dying, and bequeaths his magic/staff to the eighth son of an eighth son. He learns slightly too late that the newborn Escarina Smith is not, strictly speaking, a son. This is considered a bad thing because gender politics. When young Esk displays signs of powerful magic at a young age, local witch Granny Weatherwax tries and fails to train the girl in a more respectable magical career path. At wit's end, she reluctantly agrees to take Esk to the Unseen University in Ankh-Morpork for wizardly training. Along the way, Escarina meets Simon, a young lad also bound for UU, with odd ideas and eternal hay fever. Meanwhile, Esk's magic creates far more problems than it solves. Upon finally getting there, Esk is predictably laughed out because gender politics. Granny craftily enrolls Esk as a cleaner, allowing Esk to sneak into lectures. While snooping, Esk finds that Simon is doing an increasingly wonderful job of attracting attention from the dungeon dimensions with his theories, eventually resulting in his mind being stolen by self-same terrors, who plan to use his brain to invade our world. Well, their world. Hey, that sounds familiar. Through the combined help of Granny, the UU's Arch-Chancellor, and Billet's old staff, Esk saves Simon, herself, and the disc itself, and we all learn the true meaning of friendship, which, as we all know, is the same thing as magic.
Wow. Nice work. That actually
Hell
was,
yeah.
I think, just about 60 seconds. Extremely
hell yeah.
That was
impressive.
incredibly well done. Can I
Fuck
make my
yeah.
first comment on the actual book itself based on that?
Shoot.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to point out that what was explained, the middle part where it was like, things happen involving magic, that was like 60% of the book in the middle?
Yeah. Like, Eska's going places, magic is happening, Terry, like, talks to us about it.
It does feel like it could be trimmed into a taut young adult novella.
Yeah.
It really starts out strong and then just kind of gets lost, it feels like.
This book starts out strong in the acknowledgments, where Pratchett says, "This book is neither wacky nor zany. Please stop describing it as that, because, those are the two adjectives everyone reviews any sort of vaguely funny novel with."
And that's what he got in all of his reviews for this one, from what I can tell. And
Yeah.
Madcap screwball antics ahoy!
Like, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for this book, Equal Rights, and Dave Langford, whoever that is, he's got a blue link name, so he must be important, called it Screwy and Dotty, which are...
letter of the law, but not the spirit.
I would say this book is both screwy and dotty. Perhaps a little bit cuckoo nutso.
I can understand why Pratchett might be annoyed at that sort of stuff, though, because this feels like it's trying to be more of a real story. It feels like it's trying to get away from the sort of mostly comedy style of the first two books and trying to do something interesting, explore some ideas. I don't know if it works, but it's trying.
If someone called my writing wacky or zany, I would feel weirdly offended or like they hadn't read it.
I do appreciate that. Similar to how The Light Fantastic feels kind of like a revision of The Color of Magic, this feels not entirely, but at least like, in concept, sort of partially like a commentary on The Light Fantastic. Like, it's another reflection of the same idea, where it's okay, well, Rincewind is a guy who sucks at magic, but is essentially kind of benefited from the system, and when push comes to shove, he knows what to do. What about somebody who is really talented at magic, but is outside of the system and is blocked by the system?
I would like to point out that this book, much like The Light Fantastic, also has a young wizard with a big dick super spell in his head who gets to the Unseen University, and those very same big dick spells let some bad shit from the dungeon dimensions into our world, or very nearly do. Mm-hmm. It's a little weird to have the book end in more or less the same way twice in a row, or to use this exact same story beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be, from what I understand, I haven't read a lot of the early Discworld books, but that's going to be a recurring thing in some of the early Discworld books. The dungeon dimension as a vague antagonist that keeps showing up in confusing ways.
Yeah, he does kind of stop talking about that after a while, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's because they suck as a villain.
Yeah, they're not a villain. It's just like some elemental force, and it's just not useful.
Eventually, their kind of role in the story gets pretty much replaced by the Arbiters and the death stories, and they're much, much more interesting as characters and as an idea than the dungeon dimension is.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to get to Reaper Man.
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about my problems with Reaper Man, because it's one of my favorite books, but wow, it has problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dungeon dimension here is just kind of... it works here, but it does feel very similar to the last book, and also very vague.
Yeah, and also, I found it a little weird that, like, in the last book, like, Rincewind basically had to win against the dungeon dimensions by kicking monster ass and stuff, whereas the win in this one is a lot more like nebulous. Like
cerebral.
The staff helps, but like also it's kind of like, well, that's it doesn't have the same visceral climax as a fight would.
The greatest power is having power but not using it. And like the book even makes fun of itself for this by having a lot of like, well, yes, it's the kind of profound truth that makes you feel better about not knowing, sure, there's a lot of things you don't know, but at least you don't know a lot of important stuff, as opposed to the rabble who only don't know a bunch of unimportant things.
Yeah, there was kind
that was a good bit. I enjoyed that joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that bit was good. I did find it kind of amusing because remember when we did the Light Fantastic episode and we get to the part where just Rincewind just panics and just kicks the monster's ass and everybody is just confused about this. I mean, by everybody, I mean like us, the readers, because it's like, oh, that's all it is. And I just kind of had to explain, look, the creatures don't really know what a person is. They're just a random collection of parts. And that is explicitly how Esk staves them off for a little bit. And she just explains, no, they don't really know what they're doing. They're just hungry things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really get rid of it until she has the staff and then just deliberately doesn't use it. Which, yeah, just it's a weird application of it, and I'm still not really sure what was with the staff just expending itself to solve the problem.
Yeah.
It feels more like not a Deus Ex Machina, but just kind of like, it feels like a big setup because this staff has been like around this whole time, but like you kind of expect there to be more to it than that, I guess. I don't know. I expected there to be more moving pieces there.
Yeah. Because like last time they had to like, stick all the spells together. There was a whole thing with like, well, how do you say this word? I don't know, and so on. Like that was at least like, it made sense.
It was a pretty good payoff, but it just kind of felt like, he just wants to wrap this book up, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really felt a lot of some of the ending felt it was more concerned with some vague ideas and didn't really know how to consolidate those ideas into an actual ending.
Yeah.
Which is weird, especially given that the lead up to those ideas was pretty cool. There was some really cool stuff being developed, and I was interested to see where it goes, and then it just kind of confused me.
Yeah, because he has his thesis. He has this thesis that, like, Granny hammers into Esk and us from the start of the book, which is, like, there are more kinds of magic in the world than, like, shooting fire from your fingertips. A lot of magic is knowing things other people don't. And headology and, the placebo effect and this and that. And, like, that's a really, like, cool and interesting thing to say. It's the way the ending expresses that is very strange. It's both on the nose and also confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating because, like, the first third of the book is that, okay, the real difference between witchcraft and wizardry is that wizards are, like, stage magicians or whatever, which, I'm not talking down stage magicians. I know some very nice ones. But, hi. But witchcraft is about what actually helps people, and most of the time that's not really magic, except in the cases where it is. And like most of headology is just like weaponized empathy, which is going to get down to the fact that Pratchett still just kind of has this like there's no real reason why men can't be witches and wizards can't be. You know what I meant. Why men can't be witches and women can't be wizards, but he kind of boils it down to just stereotypes of how male and female brains work.
Yeah.
Well, men are like this, and women are like that.
Men do magic with their staves. Women do magic by knowing what herbs are.
It's trying, but it really...
He kind of half trips over himself because he brings up hedge wizardry, which, because everything has to be a pun, hedge wizardry is literally mostly about plants. It's like druids and such. Yeah. And it comes really close. It's just the fact that they're mostly solitary creatures instead of being, social creatures like witches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It feels very much like he had a lot of ideas that we'll see refined in the later Discworld books really well. Oh, yeah. But in this, they just aren't refined, and they're just kind of like, well, witches do this sort of magic mostly, and he has an idea of it, but doesn't have it quite pinned down.
Yeah.
It kind of goes in a lot of different directions over the course of the book. At one point, it's, well, the magic isn't really that real, and later it's very, very real, and then later it's Granny might teach at the university, and maybe they just need to learn from each other, but maybe this one's better, and it feels like it tries to make a lot of points that maybe it should have just made one or two.
What the fuck was that magic duel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
I liked the magic duel.
It was fun. It was just, and I guess
I mean, that's
it kind of works that Granny is just showing that everything she's saying, she still can just fucking do this whenever she feels like it. She just doesn't feel like it.
I mean, like, isn't that like a classic trope of like fantasy magic fights? Like, I know they did the same thing in the Sandman comic book series, where it was a big fight between like, oh, I'm gonna be this, that's gonna be that. Well, I'm gonna be this, that's gonna be that. And they also kind of did the same thing in Disney's Sword of the Stone adaptation.
Yeah, no, this is very much a Merlin versus Morgana thing. That is like the root of this particular fight. Of them just of turning into counters into counters into counters. Except they weren't really counters into counters. It was just the Arch-Chancellor just turns into something random and dangerous.
It was it was very dumb and very confusing, and I don't think it worked. But also, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that afterwards, they just stop fighting and go, "Wow, we were both being really stupid." Anyways, mind if I smoke?
Yeah. All right. I think that's enough conflict to prove that we're both incredible badasses. Let's please stop before one of us gets an aneurysm.
Yeah, there are more important things happening.
So, what did y'all think of the main character?
Well, that's the question of who's the main character.
Yeah,
because
is it Esk? Is it Granny? Is it...
I was gonna say Esk, although
would make
interestingly, this is a bit spoilers. Esk shows up in like 30
Yeah,
books
I looked
from
it
now
up.
or something.
Because she only shows up in a book I didn't read, and she only tangentially mentions Simon. So even though the School of Magic that the two of them work together on will show up later, and that's as far as we're going to say about that, the two of them are not going to be mentioned anytime soon. Neither will even like the concept of women in the university is still going to feel weird and alien to the faculty for the rest of the series.
Yeah,
it's a bit strange, honestly.
I was going to say, like, I didn't even know Esk showed up again. So, like, I do remember the first time I read this book, I was like, wow, I guess gender equality died on the way back to its home planet after this, huh?
It kind of does, though, unfortunately, for a while at least.
Like I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and it's like the protagonist Escarita Smith does not return until I Shall Wear Midnight, which was published 23 years later on September 2nd, 2010.
Oh, it's one of the young adult ones. I never read any of the Tiffany Aching books. That'll be an adventure.
I am genuinely excited for those because I have also never read them, and I have a friend who absolutely swears by them, and I have heard nothing but good things about them.
I know that people who are into them generally like get into Discworld through them and are like mainly fans of them. So I'm really interested to see them.
Yeah. But I will say it's interesting. They don't show up, but you know who does show up in like 2 books?
Granny.
Yep. Granny is one of the main series in Discworld from this point on. The witches, so to speak.
Oh, good.
This book was so like, this book doesn't work incredibly well as a book, but as a character study of Granny, I feel like it works really, really well. I like her a lot.
I feel like there are parts of it that I'm like, about, but overall, I loved her as a character, and I loved the way her character's explored in this. Because she's very not perfect. She's very flawed, extremely so. And they make sure they make that clear to you, and it's really cool.
Through much of the book, Granny doesn't really know. She doesn't know what she's doing. Like, much is made about the fact that Granny, and she passes this on to Esk, she rarely knows what she's doing, but she'll be damned if she lets that stop her.
Yeah, so many of, and this is true for other later Granny or witches-centric stories down the line. So many of them are like fish out of water sort of stories, where it's very much like, okay, like these witches are extremely good at what they do, and they know everything about what they know about living in the mountains and herbs and people and all this other stuff. But what happens when we take them outside of their comfort zone? Whether that is in a literal geographical sense or in a metaphorical society is moving forward sort of sense. They represent an old guard, and not necessarily a bad one, but an older way of thinking that is having to adapt to changing times.
Yeah, and I enjoyed part of the whole thing with this book being her teaching Escarina and teaching people that, hey, maybe, like, don't be a new weird asshole piece of shit wizard, but also at the same time her having to learn that she is very out of place in this and needs to adapt.
Oh yeah. I loved her meeting I think her name was Hilda, the town wizard.
Hilda. Yeah.
Hilda,
the town
yeah.
witch.
Yeah, she was like my favorite bit character just because like up in the mountains a witch is this like stern and imposing figure who's there to curse people and demands respect. In town, witches are dick doctors for dick problems.
Which, let's be clear here, Granny also makes natural male enhancement potions.
Yes.
That is made very clear. It's just that Hilda, and I'm quoting the book here, quote, has to resort to parlor tricks.
Because people expect, kind of the song and dance of regular magic, yeah.
It's headology. Your aphrodisiacs work better if you buy them from a dimly lit place, kind of sequestered off to the side, and you have to like speak in hushed tones, and everything's advertised in metaphors.
Oh yeah, which is interesting.
I love sex stores.
I just love I get excited about any references to like horny shit in these books because it's always like I love the idea of like people talking about weird like I don't know. It's just fascinating to me as a pornographer. I guess it's neat.
What is sex like in the Discworld?
What's sex like in the Discworld? Well, we see later on that they have condoms. There's like boner pills and shit here, and also like contraceptives. It's like there's a whole lot of shit in the mix there. People are still people, regardless of the whimsical fantasy setting.
Yeah.
As far as sex goes in Discworld, I think Pratchett very much takes the approach of it's funnier if it's close to real life sex, and we don't have to do a bunch of dumb stuff to try and figure out what it would be like with medieval such.
Yes. Yeah, he absolutely he realizes that the joke would not be any funnier if he was ever any more explicit about it. So he'll just kind of smile and wink and do things that are not necessarily flying under the censors, but it has the same sort of effect. And you get to make the jokes like you are sending something underneath the censors, and people laugh at it because you're being sly about it.
It is, as the Brits would say, cheeky.
Yeah, it's and he does it pretty well. He does a lot of he certainly makes reference to this existing. There's a couple of times when Granny is like, "Oh, am I gonna have to tell her what sex is?"
Yeah. Speaking of which, actually, on this note, we got to hear about Miss Palm in this book.
Oh, yes!
Rose...
Love her.
Early shout out to Miss Palm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll show up more later. Did the word seamstress actually show up in this book? I don't think it did.
Nope.
Okay.
They mentioned there was a lady named Miss Palm. She had a lot of other ladies living at her house.
Specifically
and a lot
her
of visitors.
Sisters or something. The lady with all her sisters, and gosh, it must be hard to feed such a large family.
They don't seem to get much sleep either.
Yeah,
again,
weird.
These are all really good jokes, and it would be funny.
It's good. I will say, I think a lot of the jokes in this book were a lot more subtle and landed in a way that I enjoyed a lot more than the previous books. They were not nearly as grown, terrible, oh god, that's such a bad joke. Although there were those in here. A lot of them were just quiet, subtle ones. Yeah. Oh gosh. I want to hear them.
So, well, first of all, we're talking about the jokes. This book has one of the most classic, frozen in amber flavors of joke that we don't get anymore. And it's a joke about, I forget the exact context, but she was knocked flat. She felt like a pizza with anchovies or whatever. Which, if it is before 2000 and you are making a joke that involves a pizza, it has anchovies on it because they're the funniest pizza topping.
Of course.
But,
they are. But that's just a fact.
But so the three jokes were when Granny is talking to Hilda about her business, and you can sell this stuff without resorting to parlor tricks, referring to the accoutrement. There was Knowles don't look any better inside than out. He hated their guts.
But Tish. Oh, I marked that one too. That one was so good.
And when Granny and S get to town, they take up residence in a seedier part of town that suits Granny, and The lodgings were by a respectable dealer in stolen goods because good fences make good neighbors.
God,
Hey!
that was
good.
That one works on just several levels, and I love
so
it.
Good.
Wow. I noted that one too. God, that was great. What was the other one that I noted that was like best groaner line? Well, that wasn't a pun. That was just a weird joke.
What was it?
It was right at the beginning. Well, I mean, the village that Esk is born in is called Badass, which is like, it's based on how a lot of smaller towns up in the Alps have bad, as in bath. Describes it as, it was in fact one of those places that exist merely so that people can have come from them. The universe is littered with them. Hidden villages, wind-swept little towns under wide skies, isolated cabins on chilly mountains whose only mark in history is to be the incredibly ordinary place where something extraordinary started to happen. Often there is no more than a little plaque to reveal that, against all gynecological probability, someone very famous was born halfway up a wall.
It's...
Because usually they say, like, somebody was born here, but, like, not literally right here. I just thought that was a cute joke.
And that reminds me of one of the things I kept thinking of through actually all three of these books is like when Pratchett does something that's meant to poke fun at fantasy tropes, and he's making fun of like fantasy novels at this point in time, like the way the adventuring parties are put together, the existence of like attacking gnolls and goblins. The jokes still work, but they realize like they're making fun of like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feel very outplayed, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those just like watching Seinfeld nowadays. And all of the jokes have been done 1,000 times by everyone else.
Yeah,
we have so much fantasy parody nowadays that the really basic fantasy parody stuff just isn't the most interesting part of Discworld.
Yeah, and like you can kind of see like Terry starting to get tired of that like now in book 3, which came out in like the 80s, and this was before like nerdery was like a force in modern culture. So like, damn.
Yeah, this was 87. Like, this would have been a lot funnier back then if you were a fantasy reading Dorcas.
Oh yeah, going to all the fantasy cons, hanging out with your friends, talking about who read Lord of the Rings faster.
Yeah, thinking about elves.
Checking out Usenet for all the hot tips on the new Mercedes Lackey publication. But yeah, like it feels like something that's already getting phased out, except for talking about witches and wizards, which again, we've still got some juice in the tank for that left for the next few books. Oh yeah, what did you think of the new headmaster of Unseen University, Cut Angle? I thought he was basically just going to be a 2-dimensional cutout of a character, but then like later on near the end, they gave him a whole bunch of like backstory, and he's like from the same place that Granny's from.
To the point that they knew one another growing up.
I was really shocked that they didn't mention that Granny's relation Gander Weatherwax ran the university not so long ago. Like, she doesn't seem to acknowledge this at all or have any, like, there's no one where it's like, oh yeah, my brother, he left town a while, when I was a kid, and he came to the big city to be a big dick wizard, and he sucks.
Which is really weird because, like, her sister is going to come up and be the focus of an entire book later.
Yeah,
but I don't think she ever acknowledges Galder Weatherwax. I don't know if this is supposed to be like some kind of weird cosmic coincidence or just a different branch of the family, or I don't really get it.
What if it's just a very common name on the Discworld? Because I'm looking at Granny's Wikipedia page right now, and it does not mention Galder once.
Wow!
Wait, I was wrong. Sorry, they're distant cousins.
Oh.
Okay. Huh. Okay.
Apparently
that
very
makes sense.
distant.
It's... I really liked... I liked the characterization they did of the headmaster, although it was very strange and just kind of happened suddenly at the end.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot of the book does, as if kind of he told a different book at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He wrote the first section of the book, took a long break, scribbled down a bunch of ideas to the middle that plotted on and on, wrote the third section of the book, and then just kind of forgot about it for a year, and then came back with a completely different book for the fourth part.
Yeah.
Like, when I was making my original draft of the 60-second summary, I had the entire middle third of the book as just, for some reason, they decided to film Road to Ankh-Morpork at this point.
Yep.
And it's just
it's so strange.
Like, the only actually important part about it is the fact that they meet Simon ahead of time. And even then, they could have met him right in front of the Unseen University, and the story would have been fine. You could have cut a full third of this book out, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, you could have cut out everything with the Zunes, everything with, like, everything that happened on the river, and, like, it would have been fine. Like, literally no one would have noticed. Like, there was, like, when I was taking my notes, there was, like, a big chunk where, like, nothing was important, so I didn't write anything down.
Like,
I feel like part of why it's such an issue here is because, like, in the previous book, you kind of expected it with Rincewind. Like, the first book, obviously, is a disaster collection of stories.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We don't have to talk about it. But in the last book, it didn't have that strong start. It didn't have that promise. It just kind of fell into things happening to Rincewind again.
Yeah.
This book had a really strong start where it promised an interesting story. And then to have it just after that go back into the, well, here's the fun idea. This is similar to, like, the Druids in the last book, where it's just like, here's some fun jokes we can make about computer programming and such.
Which he does again. He makes another aside about, well, it's well known that Stone can think because, the electronics industry exists in our world.
He loves computers so much.
Which
he's so cute.
Which I get. I also like computers. I get it, Terry.
Now,
at least you were quicker about it this time.
I did find it kind of interesting, and was the fact that all of the stuff happening during that third, there was all of this casual world building that he didn't have any of this stuff in the previous books. But he wrote this like we're supposed to already be familiar with a lot of these places. Mm-hmm. Like Ulaankaatash and the Zunes and whatever. I know there were other towns that they got stopped at. And he just built all of this stuff like it was book 12 in his series or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I distinctly remember, like, in one of the, like, the market town where Esk does whatever with the stones. Mm-hmm. It's like he starts throwing out these names and these squares. Like, I had to go back. Like, did I miss something? And no, like, the only thing that happens there is like A, Esk disguises her staff as a broom, and B, Terry gets a little dig in at capitalism in the music industry.
Yeah, the very brief joke about the RAAA decades before Napster.
Since the disc had no music industry, people had to rely on more traditional forms of banditry.
Huge shade out of nowhere.
Wait, you get him, Terry. Like, that one hit. That one fucking works.
That's great. It's really weird. But I really, like, if you read any part of this book, if you're like some sort of weird person who maybe just reads portions of books instead of the whole thing, the book starts on a really freaking strong point.
Yeah.
I love, like, the opening shot is like, as opposed to like, oh, there's a big turtle and there's 2 planets on it and stuff. Wow, space and shit. But, like, this one's like, no, up in the mountains, stormy night, wizard about to die, getting pulled inexorably through the threads of destiny towards this one tiny house in the back of Beyond. And it's like, oh shit. And like, the whole staff really sets up like a WrestleMania sign for like this whole like, most of Esk's young life, where it's like, she may be just like, she may be the 8th daughter of an 8th son now, and she may not be anything really notable, but someday there's that like loaded magical staff in the corner, and that thing's gonna like wreck some shit.
Yeah.
That's why the start feels so good, because it's this like sword dangling over your head. And maybe why it feels a little bit disappointing when that finally pays off, and it's just like, oh, okay, well she did it. But
and the whole follow up with like her learning with Granny and like slowly adjusting to learning, like, Granny trying not to explain her destiny and all of that, but still teach her some level of magic, and then the whole thing with the eagle. That part was really good.
Yeah.
It was genuinely, like, interesting. I was invested. I wanted to see where it went.
It was pretty horny.
I was ready for the "You're a wizard" Harry moment.
I was
not to
kind of
reference the worst series on Earth.
I was kind of holding this back, but if we'd been doing this podcast 10 years earlier, ignoring a lot of the things that would entail. If we were doing this 10 years ago, we would have been getting such a Hogwarts vibe out of just everything about the Unseen University for the first two-thirds of the book. But unfortunately...
Unfortunately, things have occurred. And none of us are cis, so, like...
Yeah, that's sort of the problem. If we did this 10 years ago, wait, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to... I was just randomly reminded of a tangent in here when Granny first describes headology and somewhat reasonably goes, "Oh, you're just fooling people." And, Granny says, "Well, no, look, you give somebody this medicine, it's really just diluted berry juice, but you tell them you got it from the dwarves or whatever. Most people will get over just about anything as long as you give them a reason to believe in it." And then S says, "Well, but I don't get it. This doesn't make any sense." And Granny replies, "I understand. I know you don't, but you do seem to know 12 different herbs that are good for the bowels." And she just sort of drops it there and this isn't really picked up, but just kind of implying that half of the herbology is just fake anyways. But it's important that Esk believes that it's real, and really that the witches believe that it's real, so that they're convincing about it.
Yeah, and because so they're consistent.
Yes.
Yeah.
If which A and which B both give you fuckroot for your dong problems, hey, it's consensus, baby.
Yeah, the witch 2 hills over said fucker wasn't going to work for my dong problems. I demand a second opinion.
It was a really good start.
Yeah.
I was excited, and then they ran around in the wilderness
for a third of the book.
Yeah.
I'm,
a while.
I'm kind of glad to everyone else agreeing that this thing kind of dragged for that point, because I'm not going to make any pretensions here. Unseen University is my home turf when it comes to Discworld stuff. Just period. That's why I got back into playing the mud after we filmed our first episode, because I just wanted to go back and do wizard shit again.
Yeah.
Anything about the UU is just shit I care about, shit I know about. And so I spent most of this book going, God damn it, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory?
I am very interested to hear your opinion on the one book I have opinions on that happens in Unseen University, Unseen Academicals, because that one is...
I'm going to be honest, I don't
book.
remember it at all. I know that it involves
It's the
sports.
football one.
That's all I remember.
God.
I think that was one of the ones that I shotgunned too fast to really absorb properly.
It's also one of his later ones, which
We'll worry about that in
Ah,
a couple
yeah.
years.
I know it's the last Rincewind book. I don't think I've read that one either, so that'll be fun.
I'm going to assume Rincewind dies in it.
No spoilers, but it is definitely this is something that's going to have to be talked about eventually. It's definitely on the edge of possibly the last few books decline in quality a lot, and it is arguable whether this is part of that. I would say no, I really like this book, but you can make a case for it definitely has issues.
It'll be
complex thoughts on it.
It'll be fun to see where we decide to put it in our rankings.
Yeah, because at that point we'll have 35 other books ranked already, so that'll be fun.
I'm gonna have to think about once we get past maybe 10 books, it's gonna be cumbersome to figure out where the rankings are placed. I'm thinking maybe sorting them into tiers, like Smash Brothers characters.
Yeah. We'll just drop it all into tier list with just images of all of the book covers or whatever.
Right now, it's easy to make a list of best to worst because there's so few.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious with whether y'all thought this one was better than the last one.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of mixed on it, but I think we still have time to deliberate on this.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could get into that now if you want, or we could discuss the book some more. But
let's go into the book some more.
Yeah. So what did y'all think of speaking about faffing around in the wilderness, what did y'all think about the definitely not weird at all, vaguely racial coded stereotypes of the river people?
Like, Terry absolutely says the G slur here a couple times.
Yes.
It's one of those he should have thought about this, but and to his credit, like, no, don't call them that, call them Romani or whatever. It wouldn't fucking work here. He'd have to call them something completely unrelated. Which again, this is he really shouldn't have, but I don't think it was really a social issue at the time, so I can't really dock points for it. I don't think. Yeah,
he does go out of his way to like invert the stereotype where it's like, classical shitty European stereotypes, like these traveling people are untrustworthy and they'll always mess with your head and stuff. But like in this, it's like, no, it's literally the opposite. They lack the capacity to lie whatsoever, and they have one group of their family who is the designated liar who gets good at lying, which is a great idea on its own. I just wish there weren't, like, showing the inverse of the stereotype still makes the stereotype visible, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
not good.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea, but it should have been a cool idea applied to something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's kind of this whole thing in the book, right? It's very much like, oh, men are bad because they want to do magic like this. So we'll have, Granny tell him off and ignore him, and that'll make it be good. Or like, it's very like, you can't do the opposite of if you're 180 degrees from the thing you don't like all the time, frequently that's also bad, even if it's better.
You're just turning 360 degrees and walking
away.
The gender politics of this book were...
Sir Terry.
First off, it should be noted that Terry does not know what trans people are at this point in time.
Yeah.
Honest question, does Terry ever realize what trans people are?
I don't...
And I'm...
Kind of, because Cheery is sort of a sideways approach to it.
I will argue that there is just a straight-up trans character in Monstrous Regiment, but I don't know if Pratchett knew.
Yeah.
I think that there are definite themes about gender that trans people can identify with and latch onto. I know I've seen a lot of trans people say that Corporal Angua later on is trans, which I think has a lot of water to it. Monstrous Regiment, like, there's gonna be such a fucking episode when we get to that book.
Yeah,
because
Monstrous Regiment will be a 10-part episode.
It's gonna be bananas.
It's gonna be very long. We're gonna be
so excited.
For a while.
But yeah, I know that there is eventually a gay character. I will not comment on whether they are a good character, but I know that at least one exists. But I don't know if he ever mentions trans people even as a joke.
Queer villain pride,
I assume
baby.
There's a joke somewhere.
I think this book would have read a lot different if Terry had met a trans person before.
I think a lot of Pratchett's stuff might have read differently.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that he does some really great stuff. I just wonder what could have been.
I just wish I could have, like, talked to him about gender shit before he wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much still rooted within the patriarchy, even as it seeks to dismantle it.
I don't say this about many people. I don't say this about many cis people, but, like, I want to sit down with Sir Terry, explain what's going on, and give him, like, free reign to ask questions for a few hours.
I will comment more on that in the future because I have opinions on that specifically and how it relates to some of the future books. But this one is definitely... It could have been worse. It definitely tried to do some cool things, and at times it succeeded.
Yeah.
There are points when I thought it did really cool stuff.
And sometimes Terry is standing in an elevator holding a "this elevator is abuse-free" sign. This elevator respects woman.
Wow. I did, yeah. Like he kind of takes it apart in like minor ways. Like one of my favorite little tiny details is that like so much of witch behavior kind of is so different from wizard behavior, not just because like witches and wizards are different, but because the concept of like women not catching as much respect as men is like baked into the culture so much that like witches have to go out of their way so much more just to like get people on their level, like to get people to trust them. Like Granny says, like, oh yeah, we don't curtsy as witches, we bow. We took that from what is a normally masculine behavior and we made that ours just to show that we're on the same level with that kind of thing. We always wear black, we always do the goth thing, we have the big hat as a big signifier of who we are. It's very much as it is a gender performance, if that makes sense.
The gender is witch. And there's much is made about like when we see inside Esk's dad, Gunder or something, Gordo Smith is his name. See, his last name is Smith because he's a blacksmith, which is like why people actually have the last names they have. But anyway, like, you know, he's like, well, you know, all of the women in the area really respect Granny. They all like, you know, respect and appreciate her. Gordo is more like well, if I should go along with what she says, A, because she's a witch, and, well, you know what witches do to people, and B, you know, I can't get in trouble with the missus.
Every married male character in this book is henpecked.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's
It's
really
weird. It's weird.
Equal rights, baby! Women's lib!
It's really fucking weird to, like, see it, like, Pratchett do these, like, I keep setting up and knocking down all these, like, yeah, you know, what... You know, take that, men, take that masculinity, but then he also does these, like, fucking, take my wife, please, ass jokes.
Yeah, it feels like trying to play both sides, except in this case, there clearly is a side that is more powerful than the other, so it doesn't work.
And there's clearly a side that he's taking, honestly. Like, it is obvious what his opinion on a lot of this stuff is, at least to some extent. He just doesn't...
He has his ideas. He is trying to make this case. His heart is in the right place. Unfortunately, he is still a comedy writer in the 80s, and he has a lot of unexamined misogyny that he's working through.
If we ever cover Good Omens, oh my god, we have got to talk about some of the extremely 80s levels of misogyny and other Yikesville jokes that are in that book, because like it's not part of it is arguably not part of the Discworld canon. People will debate me on this, but I say it isn't.
It absolutely isn't.
Yeah. It's got like this is a minor tangent, but like going back and reading it, like I read it fairly recently again. I reread it just because I knew the Amazon series was coming out, and like some of the stuff in that book is like, damn, y'all, this was super written in the friggin' late 80s, wasn't it? Like,
Good Omens has a major problem of, oh, yeah, you forgot about half of this book.
Yeah.
You only remembered the good parts.
You remembered the beginning, and you remembered the end, and you forgot, like, half of how all the stuff this book takes place in, because you were too blinded by the idea of gay celestial beings. When they made it for TV...
gay celestial beings are so good, though.
When they remade it for TV, they should have just made it about gay celestial beings and cut out...
I mean, they mostly did.
Yeah, they did, but they could have gone harder, you know? They could have made them, like,
fair.
make out. Maybe...
that would have been
Maybe
great.
they could have frauded a little. I don't know. Or, like, with their weird, non-gendered,
Junior
like,
and Angel, how do angels fuck?
The absolute terror field down there.
Yeah.
Want to find out?
Yes!
love to.
Desperately!
Yes.
That was meant to be a flirt. Let's continue.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's why I was saying yes.
Yeah, cool. Sorry for going a little blue this episode.
Iris will just have to cut out the 45-minute long section that doesn't really work because you'd have to be there.
If Iris cuts out the section of me loudly fucking someone on the podcast, I'm gonna be so mad. If you're hearing this, and you didn't hear that, that means that she did. Email her about that.
Listen, I have to save something for the higher tiers of the Patreon when we get the Patreon.
That's a good point.
Just saying.
That's a good point.
But yeah, gender, the genders,
There is one more thing I'd like to bring up before we go to our ranking.
Yes,
which
please,
is,
feel free.
Following up on Scropula from the last book, the most fucking British thing in this book is that there's a joke that relies on me knowing anything about Henry's the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
I don't think there were Henrys the 9th or 10th. I think it stopped at 8.
Well, so the joke goes something like the pose in the painting was owned by Henry the 8th, but with an option on Henry the 9th and Henry the 10th, or something like that. The only thing I know about Henry the 8th is that he had six wives consecutively because of, marriage reasons. But
divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived.
Survived. Yeah. Yes, that's all I know. I'm a fucking American. The founding fathers and the revolution did a lot of bad, fucked up things that ruined this country and made it terrible. But they were correct, and that we shouldn't have to care about any fucking kings.
We shouldn't have to know who they are.
Yeah.
Instead, we just have to remember all of the presidents.
Yeah,
You don't even have to remember all the
Who
presidents.
actually switch.
June, there are like 6
presidents.
There are like maybe 6 important presidents. Most of the rest are like Millard Fillmore or James Garfield or like.
Yes, but
I know all
I'm
of
sure
the
some of them
presidents.
weren't also comic characters.
Yes, but Grace, I assume that if you asked an incredibly English person, they'd say there were only like 6 important kings.
Well, yes.
And one of them is Burger.
Yeah,
There's
Elizabeth II, The Reckoning, Henry VIII,
Elizabeth Rising Revengeance,
Henry VIII,
Steve, George. One of the Georges was a bad one.
One of the George was the bad.
Yeah, one of them was like the evil. George Washington was like the weird super baby project clone of King George.
Yeah, just like Star Trek Nemesis.
I just now realized they were both named George.
Yeah.
2 Georges.
Real Metal.
The War of the
Real Metal
Georges.
Gear Solid situation.
Yeah. Colonel. So is
Sears
Excessive
Project.
constitution.
is George Washington? Is he solid George?
He's definitely solid George, and then King George III was liquid George.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see, the thing was, King George III thought he was the one who got the recessive genes, but he wasn't. He had the dominant genes, so he was technically the superior one. He just had an inferior complex because he didn't know about how the Les Enfants Terribles project worked.
Yeah.
Tune in for our later podcast where Iris ranks and reviews every single Metal Gear game.
You don't want that from me. You don't want that because I will make that, and you don't want that.
Wait, wouldn't George Washington be solidist because he was actually president?
No. Because in this metaphor that we're using, there would be... No, you know who's solidist? Alexander Hamilton, because he was a Federalist and he wanted a king for America.
I hope all of the listeners who know things about Metal Gear Solid enjoyed that bit.
Yeah.
Or at
It was
least you
very
suffered
good.
as much psychic damage as I did.
Yeah, same.
Anyways,
It was very
sorry.
good.
I thought of Hamilton and I wasn't going to waste my shot as the Broadway musical says.
God.
No.
Oh, that hurt. That one hurt.
Now that's psychic damage.
I'm trying to think of other stuff that was in this book.
Right in now for your free commemorative Hatsune Miku binder.
Yes. I liked that Granny didn't like flying on a broomstick and she had a shitty broomstick that didn't work. That
Yep.
was fun.
And then the dwarf mechanics bit was actually... It was
yeah.
very by the numbers, but I still thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I saw that
Yeah.
joke coming the second that it was like they kicked into the scene and I was like, this is a crooked auto mechanic joke, huh?
This is a
good.
car thing. It's a good bit.
Less of a joke you laugh at and more that you nod and be like, yes, correct.
Yep. It's a good bit. And as much as the old he certainly is hitting all the obvious fantasy trope jokes. I can dig on the dwarves as auto mechanics.
I only just got that it was because this is a Road 2 movie, so of course the car has to break down at some point.
Of course.
Oh my God.
Gotta have cards.
I enjoyed that stuff. I thought a lot of the sort of like making fun of witch stereotypes worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing was like it was making fun of them, but also like it was deconstructing them and then putting them back together, saying, no, wait a second, hold on, there's a reason they're doing it this way, and that's very important.
It made the witches,
and sometimes it was a bit like sometimes it was a bit gender.
Yeah.
Look at the wise old woman and this stuff, but like I think overall it worked really well.
There was a good bit where we find out that like Granny Weatherwax is she looks bad for a witch, by which they mean she's actually attractive and can't even develop the nose wart.
Yeah, like she's not like she really wishes she had like some cool warts, and also like she was missing a bunch of teeth because she talks about this other witch like 2 valleys over who's like lost all of her teeth at like age 20, and she's all like gnarled and fucked up and like a hag, and she's like, damn, I wish I could get to
she eats a lot of soup, but people respect the hell out of her.
People respect her.
I think Hilda is described as having a mouthful of gold teeth, which feels like it's teasing Balina.
Yeah, that rules.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was
jewelry teeth are cool.
Yeah.
jewelry teeth are cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I thought it worked really well, and I liked the way it characterized Granny and the way it characterized the witches overall, and the way it didn't just kind of make fun of it, but played with it.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel that about the wizards in this book.
Yeah.
No, the wizards are much more two-dimensional. Like
Yeah.
it feels like
Yeah.
Terry was like, I already spent 2 books talking about wizards. I probably don't need to go any further into what wizards do or how they are or whatever, but like he could have got into it a little bit.
It's all a shitty old boys club. They all smoke. They're all not allowed to fuck. Wizards fucking suck. Like, we get it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like since he was just kind of fatigued because remember he had to kill like the 9 most senior wizards at the end of the Light Fantastic, and he just didn't really feel like populating it again. So, you got the librarian, you've got this Arch-Chancellor who I guess we might do more with him later. I don't remember how many books this guy serves for. It doesn't matter since we're only talking about this book anyways. And he does get some nice character development, but it's just kind of there. All of the wizards are just products of their institution more than anything else.
The university gets a lot better once A, books stop being centrally about them, and B, once recurring characters start to come out of the university without the constant threat of being killed off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is actually something about this book. There wasn't a ton of people dying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which separates it out from the previous
the
two books.
The previous two had a pretty high body count, now that I think about it.
It was a lot less cynical. Much less cynical, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terry at least, Terry has at least learned a thing or two about punching down in this one. Or punching up. Well, both. But, he's punching more in the right direction. He's still cynical, but it's directed at, the music industry and, shitty, stuffy old boys clubs.
And ants.
Yeah, he's pretty pro-ant in this. There's a pretty good bit where...
I loved the bit at the end.
That was so good!
Yeah.
That was a really good joke. That was a great gag to end it off of.
Listen, I'm glad you spent all the time reading my book. I realize this ending may be kind of a little wet fart. Hey, here's a joke about ants that I thought was really good. Ba-bam!
And it's finally got...
It was a great joke.
And it's a really good brick joke for at the very beginning of the book, when Drum Billet dies, he talks to Death about, is there anything I can do? Well, you can try reincarnating, but your karma's not so great. You'd be lucky to get an ant. And wouldn't you know it, one of the ants at the end, it's our old friend, Drum Billet, which, is that a pun? It really feels like it's a pun, or a drum billet is a thing I should know what it is.
Well, okay, I know this from watching Forged and Fire too much. A billet refers to a piece of metal that's been melted together but has not yet been hammered into the shape of a knife. So it's like a tool before it becomes a finished tool.
Oh my
so I guess it's
God.
apt that
Joke.
the guy named Billet gives his power to Esk.
Wow, that's bad. I should have looked that up. Wow. I didn't think
It's
I
a bit
didn't
of a
think that
deep
Pratchett
cut.
I didn't think that Pratchett would stoop down to my level in naming characters.
No, it's good. There's no rules on when you can name characters. It's fine.
Yeah, like ask Bug Report and Bird Call. Like,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want.
I do find it kind of weird that Drum bothers reincarnating because he seemed to be doing just fine as a tree.
Yeah. But
I mean, we don't know what happened to him. Maybe
Okay.
he got chopped down.
You know,
maybe he got blown up.
I am perfectly willing to believe that somewhere on the cutting room floor for this book, there's some offhand joke that the moment Esk and Granny Weatherwax left Badass, someone went out back and chopped down that tree.
Yeah, like,
oh my god.
because like that's what
probably.
that's what it implies happens, right? Is like Drum came back as the tree, something happened to him, and now he's reincarnated as the ant.
Yeah, like once the
Also, that's another quick gag that I enjoyed. Just like, I know that the town being called Badass is like a joke in and of itself, but I enjoyed the gag of just constantly calling it that over and over again for the rest of the book.
Yeah, and never
For,
making
like,
another joke about it. Like, I thought there was going to be a pun on it, but like, no, it's like, we got that out of the way early. It's like, whenever...
Now you just have a town named Badass.
Yeah.
And that's a good bit, just
Yeah.
constantly calling it that.
Also, can we talk about how genuinely pretty horny the eagle scene was? Like, it was pretty hypno-kinky.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, it was cool. It's the
but
idea of riding on somebody else's mind very carefully so you don't take control of it. But then if you do take control of it, then it's really exhilarating and powerful, but also you start to lose yourself into it until all you can think about is the same thing as the eagle is thinking. Until you lose yourself entirely.
And you get animorphsed.
Yeah, you turn into Tobias.
Yeah. There's also a pretty good bit later on where with borrowing the mind of the unseen university. And there's a really good like chunk where like I didn't bother to transcribe, but it's it's all architecture puns. Like Granny arched her back and plastered him with this and so on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Esk does it for a second and the book's like, oh yeah, she finally had the unique and unusual sensation of feeling like she had balconies.
Well, she's 8. She hasn't gone through puberty yet.
That's true.
God.
God.
I thought that's what that joke was, but
I did not realize that joke. That was... Ugh.
Jeez
I'm not sure it was.
But
yeah, I don't know if it was a purposeful joke, but if it wasn't a purposeful joke, it is now.
I didn't realize it then.
I
but...
groaned out it either way.
Hey, nice Balinas.
Oh, I was going to say, speaking of somebody who's definitely thought more than once about, like, man, I'm pretty cool as, like, a person, but it'd be pretty cool to be a place sometime.
Yeah.
That was a neat bit.
Yeah. Iris, tell us about your building, Sona. Go.
Yeah. Well, I don't call myself a psychic architect for nothing, But yeah, that part was really neat.
Yeah, I really liked. I feel like we've dunked a lot on certain things in this book, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff in this book.
Even the weird rambly stuff was still fun.
Yeah.
There were a number of moments in this book where I was in that zone of just like, oh, I want to keep reading this because they keep doing cool shit, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it, which I can't really say about the previous books.
You know what it reminded me a lot of? Not in terms of, like, content, but in terms of, like, how it was set up. Did any of you see the recent... Netflix did, like... They basically did a prequel to the Dark Crystal movie, where it was called The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
I wanted to watch that, but I didn't.
I'll say that it suffers the same problem that a lot of other Netflix series do, where, like, it has a really strong start, and then it kind of gets real soggy in the middle, and then things kind of vaguely come to a conclusion at the end, but it has a really strong lead-in for a second season, which they're not going to get because Netflix canceled it because Netflix have no souls in their bodies whatsoever, I guess.
Because Netflix loves canceling things after a season or two.
Yeah, and I got the same sensation as I did when I was watching that, where it's like, well, this feels just like faffing around, but all the little details in it are so fun,
Yeah. Like,
there are much worse ways to spend an afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, jumping off of that actually provides a very smooth segue to our ranking system. So, gang, out of 3 books, the current ranking has Light Fantastic as number 1, and The Color of Magic as number 2. Where does Equal Rights fit on this list?
This is the best one.
Well, let's get something out of the way. Mm-hmm. Let's get something out of the way. No one thinks this is worse than The Color of Magic.
No.
Right.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The question:
does anyone think this is worse than The Light Fantastic?
I mean, if we're docking it for the middle third, I don't really feel like The Light Fantastic had quite the same problem of just having a big chunk of the book that could be summed up in one sentence.
I absolutely do. I genuinely think it did.
Yeah, remember when remember when my book bugged out and I did in fact miss a chunk of Light Fantastic in the middle and didn't notice?
You're right.
If anything, I think part of the thing is that Light Fantastic is mostly that. Mm-hmm. It's mostly the running around in the wilderness and having stuff happen in weird ways that don't work well.
You expect it more from Light Fantastic, whereas with this it did feel a little more disingenuous.
You're right that it was like the edges were much higher more than the middle was lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Light Fantastic has an even more of a fireworks factory problem because they've been building up Rincewind's big dick brain spell since Color of Magic, and you're just waiting for him to fucking say it.
It's true. Yeah,
and then it doesn't really do anything of actual consequence. It just turns off the plot MacGuffin.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good though, because it was mostly an anticlimax bit, and I enjoyed it for what it was.
I like that particular delivery, but on the other hand, I like Esk as a character way more than I liked Rincewind or Toothflower.
That's the thing, right? If nothing else, I like Esk and I like Granny a lot more than I like Rincewind and Toothflower.
Mm-hmm.
And Esk's biggest problem was the fact that she was an extraordinarily mature 8-year-old.
Yeah, this really had the whole
do you know why? I have an answer for this. Esk is based on Terry Pratchett's actual daughter Rihanna, and and if you're writing a book with a character that's based on a real person you're related to, you have to make them look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be like, wow, I based this character off of you. She's a fucking idiot. She's just no idea what's going on.
She shits her pants all the time. She fucking sucks. Nobody likes her.
I can't believe that he wrote a character into the book and then made her straight automatically. What the fuck? You don't know, Terry. You don't know what that kid maybe could grow up to think.
Well, she also doesn't really have many of those thoughts over the course of this because, again, she's 8 years old.
She does briefly find Simon attractive.
Yeah.
But I figured that she was 8 years old for this book just because 8 is an important number, and
True.
because when all of her magic started happening. Because of course, an 8-year-old, and I can't really say eighth daughter of an eighth child of an eighth child, I guess.
Yeah. It does really have a Hey Arnold vibe to it, though. How on Hey Arnold, everybody was supposedly in 4th grade, but they were all basically adults. And then the kids in 5th grade, wore leather jackets and smoked and had bikes and shit. Yeah, and they were in 5th grade.
Yeah, which is what it's like being a kid. Everyone older than you is some, oh, they've got it all figured out. They're so cool or whatever. When I was 10, my 18-year-old cousin had it all figured out, baby.
No, yeah. I remember when I was in senior year of high school, I was like, yeah, when I get to college, I'm going to be a real adult. I'm going to be a fully formed person. I'm turning 31 in a couple weeks. And I still don't feel like I'm fully baked yet. Yeah. I feel like I'm still soft in parts. It's so weird.
That's okay. I'm 36, and I'm going, why the hell do you seem to have your life all figured out? So, no, it never really gets any better.
Well, I'm 26, and I have my life completely figured out. So, y'all should just do what I do, pretty much.
What? Just, be hot and do podcasts? I mean, that's what we're doing. So, hey, one step closer every day in every way.
Exactly.
Why do you think I'm on? Why do you think I'm on 3 of them? It seems to work.
So... I'm kind of hearing a general consensus that maybe we put this at our number 1 spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I went into this expecting to sandwich it, but I'll acquiesce on that. I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
yeah. Cool. This is what it's all about. It's about discussion, compromise, negotiation, and not all of the gaps are going to be big ones. Sometimes they're going to come down to the little details. That's why I think ranking things is so fascinating. Not necessarily, like, I joke a lot about how it's like, oh, this is the objective ranking, but really it comes down to, like, talking about the differences and, like, maybe exploring it in a very subjective manner, because we're 4 different people and we all have different ideas about what we like in our stories.
It is a framing device to spark conversation, and before I close the Equal Rights Wikipedia page, I would like to laugh at the fact that both the numbers 7 and 8 are blue links, in case you are looking at the Wikipedia page for equal rights, and you're like, yeah, tell me more about the number 8. Why not? Yeah, I've been curious. It seems like as good a time as any.
I don't know what the number 8 is. Could you please help me out, Wikipedia?
Do you remember when we were memeing about the feature film Robots starring Robin Williams?
Yes.
And, like, every color word describing the robots is a blue link? Hey, kid, do you know what yellow is?
Listen, I've heard of colorblind people, but I think they at least have some vague concept that, like, green is a hue.
If you were colorblind, I think, like, the Wikipedia page on yellow isn't going to help you.
Yeah, you would still have heard of the concept of yellow.
Yes.
I could understand wanting to learn more about 7, though, because I've been afraid of it my whole life.
Well, it did vor 9.
Because of its vor fetish, yes.
I was going to say, did you hear that it ate 9?
Yeah.
Classic.
Hot.
Anyways, so right now our ranking list looks like top of the list Equal Rights, and note to future Iris, if you could, while you're editing this, put in a sort of a ding sound effect, like from the board on Family Feud, that would be great. Hugs and kisses. Mwah, future Iris.
Hi, future Iris. You're hot.
Hi, future Iris.
Hey, Iris.
Yeah, you're really hot and stuff. I feel like we can say whatever we want here because you're going to edit this part out, I assume.
Hi, future Iris. I'm gay.
Why would I edit out
I'm gay,
the
too.
parts where you all compliment me?
You're just going to skip right from that to us all complimenting you. So there's just a ding, and then all of a sudden everyone's complimenting you.
Perfect. But yeah, top of the list, Equal Rights, then Light Fantastic, and then at the bottom, The Color of Magic. And when this episode goes live, I'll update our little ranking graphic to reflect that. But yeah, excited for next month when we're going to be covering the 4th book in the series, Mort, which...
Oh, here we go.
We get to talk about death!
It's death time.
It's death time, baby! I'm so excited! I love that Bodhi boy!
I am very interested to see this, because I did not realize I have not read this one, and I did not realize the first book in the Death series was so early.
Yeah.
So I am very curious as to what this book does.
Loving it. But yeah, you have been listening to Discoverers, a podcast about Discworld. This is our little closing segment. I'm Iris J. You can find me at Iris J Comics on Twitter. You can also find our podcast at DiscPod. Somehow I managed to snag that on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's wild. But DiscPod at Twitter. We're also on Mastodon, if that's your social media of choice, at DiscPod at queer.party. And we have an email, disc@hypnovire.us. That's disc@hypnovir.us. Feel free to send in your questions, comments, and vague ramblings about the Discworld series or our episodes or whatever you like. If we like what you write us, we'll read it on air and talk about it. Did y'all want to plug your pluggables yourselves?
Still BALINA, still at WolfCow, WLFCAU on Twitter. You'll probably have better luck just clicking the links that are on the podcast show notes.
Yes, I will put those in as well.
I'm still Juniper. Juniper Theory on Twitter. I'm cool.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to plug right now, but I am absolutely wonderful and perfect in every way.
Might I suggest you plug your Twitch channel? You're streaming it?
I will. I stream at Juniper Theory on Twitch,
Yeah.
but I haven't streamed in a while. I'm going to try and stream Hitman, though, so that'll be fun.
hell yeah.
Of course, by the time you hear this, that'll be like weeks in the past.
Subscribe.
Eventually, me and Grace are going to hopefully stream Evil Genius 2 together.
And Spelunky 2.
So that'll happen
Hell
at some point in the future.
And
Nice.
Spelunky 2.
Yeah.
We gotta do Spelunky 2 and complain about it.
Yeah, but Spelunky 2 will just be us complaining.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Evil Genius.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You can find my writing, programs, podcast posts, and everything else that's fit to plug, including if you'd like to buy some of my software on floppy disk or some lovely Office of Consensus maintenance stickers. You can find that at my hot new website at princess.software.
Yes. Oh, and before I forget, we have a sister podcast called Tight Pants that Grace also co-hosts.
Oh, which we just recorded a hell of an episode of.
Yes, it's a podcast about which Homestar Runner characters know what sex is. I was a guest on an episode about the cheat, and I will not spoil any of it, but it's very good.
Yeah, we got art of it this week.
You should listen
yes.
to that if that seems like your yen.
You should absolutely not listen to it.
You should.
I'm definitely not on it. These are all true things that I absolutely believe.
It sure is a podcast.
It's wonderful.
By the time you hear this, we may even have a 4th episode up about our favorite square boy, Strong Mad.
Oh, boy. I guess you're really sticking your necks out for that one, huh?
Well, no, he doesn't have one.
But tish.
Hey.
Anyways, have a good night, folks. Catch you next time.
Mwah.
Good night, y'all.